On this edition of Sightings, there is a powerful negative force inside Tony Adams' house that's terrifying her granddaughter.
We have spirits here that aren't willing to leave.
Sightings investigates with Get Tough psychic Diana Abbott.
State of mind is essential, absolutely essential. There cannot be any fear.
Startling new video of UFO clusters in Korea could foretell major Earth changes.
These unknowns appear to be messengers of destiny.
Major David Morehouse was on a fast track to Army stardom until he became a psychic spy.
One of the worst things that happens to remote viewers is they develop a messiah complex.
You think you're God?
Yeah, you think you're God.
And can near-death experiences cause the blind to see?
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. Recently, Sightings conducted a preliminary ghost investigation inside a Piscataway, New Jersey home. Since then, the activity has intensified, and the family in the home is at their wits' end. Sightings returns to the home with a two-pronged approach, a meeting of the minds between a scientific investigator and a no-nonsense psychic. In a quiet New Jersey suburb, in this house, 3 generations of one family are being terrorized by the haunting activity of a destructive force. And it is a force that seems to be using this little girl to communicate its demands. Baby Alyssa has spoken of 2 entities, Bobby, who is evil, and Susie, who is good. During a previous investigation here, paranormal researcher Al Rober recorded what he believes are both spirit voices.
You can hear the female, who's the warning entity, warning us, saying he's coming upstairs. A short time later, I hear him saying the baby is staying.
Since that recording, the activity has intensified.
I heard a crash and came out onto the hallway and saw my picture of the Beatles lying on the floor in the hallway, shattered. It wasn't normal for a picture to fall that way.
Tony's daughter, Yolanda, has noticed a marked change in Alyssa's behavior.
I heard her wake up screaming, and I came upstairs, and she was flipping out. They asked her what was wrong. She said, "I'm scared of the monster." And I said, "What monster?" And she won't talk about it.
Sightings now returns with psychic Diana Abbott, whose tough love approach to ghosts has been very successful in other cases.
Oh, whoa.
Is it like you just stepped into the refrigerator?
Yes, but it's more than that.
In the past, sometimes I would hear noises coming from the closet that would sound something similar to metal being banged. And I knew it wasn't coming from the basement, it wasn't coming from upstairs or outside, it was coming from inside the closet.
Diana agrees the closet is a hotspot, but she feels an even stronger force is present in the basement.
Sometimes when I go into the basement, I get a very uncomfortable feeling because I feel like I'm invading someone else's territory and someone's watching over my shoulder. And I get this urgency to leave the downstairs and come back upstairs.
Oh, there's a lot here. There's a lot here. What, this
You know
area
what's
here,
right above there? Closet.
that's where the closet is, okay. As a matter of fact, is that the cat's bowl that you have back there? I would not touch that bowl for some time. That's absorbed a lot of energy. Don't touch it, just leave it. But I get female energy behind that. You've got a female manifested down here somehow. I don't like this corner at all over here.
Not visited.
No, As a matter of fact, I get some pretty solid manifestation. Has she mentioned anything about seeing something?
Sometimes she'll say the monster.
I would be concerned about it too, only because this has the ability to make itself sound like a child. So the intent isn't very positive.
I think that's what's scaring her. She just doesn't know how to explain it to me.
Because Diana senses the same forces that Al Rober has picked up with his electronic equipment, Al asks her to listen to his tapes.
What you'll hear on the first recording is you'll hear the baby, Alyssa, in the background making baby noises. And then you'll hear a female voice calling her by her nickname, Lissy. The second time that we did a session in the house, the baby was sleeping upstairs. And what you'll hear again is a female voice. And she's calling to us to warn us. And she's telling us he's coming upstairs. And finally, the last voice that we were able to capture is definitely a male voice.
The voices that were heard on that tape were, as far as I'm concerned, quite easy to identify. You had the female at the beginning who was attempting to attract the child, apparently to the television, by calling it by its nickname. That's the female ghost who is in the basement who has a very bad attitude. The female voice in the middle is the relative who has passed over, who is a ghost. She's trying to protect everybody in the house. The male voice, without question, is the activity that we experienced upstairs. Absolutely no question.
Because of Diana's seeming strong connection to the entities here, the team sets up for another electronic voice phenomenon recording session.
Okay, we'd like to invite any spirits who are in this house right now. In the past, you've come across and given us messages. We'd like to invite you to utilize these microphones, these tape recorders, and if you need to, this television.
If anybody wants to communicate, this is your last opportunity to do so. From this point on, after this recording is made, our intention and our intent and what will occur is that you will be banished from this property for good.
As if on cue, noises come from Alyssa's room. Abnormal magnetic energy is present. Diana begins to instruct Tony in an ancient cleansing ritual.
Take some of the salt yourself, on the floor, on the windowsill.
You are not to return to this house or to the grounds around this house or to bother anyone here in this house. Look at a hair on my arm.
See that?
Yep. Whoa, flew right up.
It's breaking up his energy field.
When she was upstairs in the bedroom, you notice there were spikes on a static field meter, which are somehow associated also with hauntings.
Something is going to happen tonight in a negative manner because we have a spirit or spirits here that aren't willing to leave.
Diana continues the cleansing in the basement. There, the force makes its presence known.
Look at the bowl. It's upside down from where it was when we left it. Well, she's been making herself known down here. Tony, this is your home. What do you want to tell her?
I want to tell her to cross over to wherever she's supposed to be. She doesn't belong here, and I want her to leave.
From this point on, you are no longer welcome. You'll no longer be received in this household. You are dead. It's time to move on.
As far as I'm concerned, she doesn't exist.
Good. She's gone, right?
She's gone.
To help baby Alyssa overcome her fear, Diana has brought a special angel toy.
What this will do is give the entities in this house a less available source of energy to feed off of. It's going to make her feel more comfortable and a little bit more secure when she's by herself at night. And I just have a real strong feeling this is going to help quite a bit.
She doesn't know to tell it to go away. And I may not be in the room or I may be asleep when it comes to her. I'm hoping that the angel that Diana gave to me to give to her will help her to deal with it a little better.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready to face it head on, extremely strong and not allow him to be here.
It's finally starting to take effect, and that will continue as long as they continue, one, the physical process and the verbal process, but the state of mind is essential, absolutely essential. There cannot be any fear.
While the family follows Diana Abbott's advice, performing the ritual she's recommended, Al Rober is following up his investigation. The audio tapes are being subjected to additional computer analysis, and we'll have the results on a future edition of Sightings.
Next, new video of a UFO in Korea. Later, the government's final report on Roswell. And Another flood of biblical proportions?
We're calling it the Pearl Necklace, a string of small, brilliant UFOs that promises to be more than an extraterrestrial flash in the pan. First spotted near a Utah military installation in 1952, the Pearl Necklace appeared again in Mexico City in 1992, and now the sightings team has uncovered brand new videotape of the phenomenon in South Korea. It appeared over Kapyong, 30 miles northeast of Seoul, in September 1995. At first, it was a single saucer-shaped object, but then a vertical formation of UFOs emerged and hovered for more than 4 minutes. Eyewitnesses described the UFOs as a brilliant cluster of at least 10 saucers.
Right now, each ball seems to be about 100 feet in diameter and 10,000 feet in the air, moving at 700, 800, 900 miles an hour.
Dilatoso has investigated UFO sightings for over 15 years and has researched the kinds of aircraft that are most often misidentified as UFOs.
We think it's probably not a weather balloon that's become untethered. We think it is probably not a military project.
For over a week, Dilatoso worked at ruling out what it isn't. Figuring out what it is has proven more difficult.
There are 7 primary objects, 12 subordinate objects, and clusters of what looks like clouds of smaller objects, and there could be dozens of those. The point is, it's very unusual. And because of its high speed, we think it's something not normal.
There's at least a conceivable possibility that the original object was actually composed of a cluster of smaller objects that were interconnected until their separation.
A 40-year veteran of the aerospace industry, Froning is familiar with advanced jet propulsion systems.
If this indeed is what these might be, each of these little vehicles within the overall group have their own individual power, propulsion, guidance, and control.
But, Froning points out, this is unlike any propulsion system he's ever seen. Flying fast at high altitude, the UFOs leave no contrails, and none of the objects has any visible means of propulsion.
I believe these kinds of objects may be utilizing a whole new mode of propulsion, which we have not developed yet, which is called field propulsion.
The theory of field propulsion suggests that flight can be achieved through manipulation of the Earth's magnetic field. But so far, scientists insist it's only a theory.
Since vehicles like this are not known to have been developed any place here on this world, one might come to the just natural conclusion that they originate and can come here from distant worlds. Now, what the objects are doing is just about as mysterious as what they are.
Are these balls the boundaries of some space that they're doing something to or with? This may not be an example of modes of transportation. This may be an example of work being done.
And it is work that has been ongoing, some say, throughout the world for many years. In 1992, a nearly identical cluster of UFOs was spotted in Mexico City and analyzed by UFO expert Lee Elders.
We've seen this before. This is not new to us. In October of 1992, we saw our first cluster of ships in the air that looked similar to these, almost identical to these.
Elders claims that there have been more than 700 sightings of the Pearl Necklace since then, and an alarming pattern is becoming apparent. With the sightings come violent earth changes.
They appeared en masse during the July 11, 1991 solar eclipse. They also appeared during major earthquakes. So yes, they have been known to, if we might say, predict the future or know what the future is holding and go observe.
Last year's deadly earthquake in Manzanillo, Mexico, came immediately after a string of sightings. Elders believe South Korea should be prepared for anything.
Such as earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, or maybe even armed conflict. These unknowns appear to be messengers of destiny in many, many situations.
And these clusters are not limited to the 1990s. A sightings team recently uncovered this footage, taken in Utah in 1952. The vertical formation bears an uncanny resemblance to the Mexico and South Korea sightings 40 years after, ruling out the possibility that this is brand new, super secret technology.
If Earth is being visited by people from other places, from other worlds, from other dimensions, they're speeding up the process right now. Something major is happening.
During the Korean War, there were several sightings of similar UFOs throughout Korea. At the time, these craft were presumed to be experimental enemy aircraft. Well, now, ufologists are re-examining those reports and believe that they may be the earliest links in a paranormal chain that sightings will continue to investigate.
Next, scientists fear a great flood in our future, the healing power of the mind, and what the government says really crashed at Roswell.
Here are some of the stories Sightings is following in the news. People have been after the United States Air Force for years, demanding a full accounting of the alleged UFO crash near Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. Well, finally, after 50 years, the wait is over. The report is in. From the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. comes the Roswell Report, the U.S. Air Force's official public account of what crashed near Roswell, New Mexico in the summer of 1947. There are documents, letters, and interviews with every rank of military personnel connected with what is called on page 1, the most celebrated UFO encounter of all time. Then, thoroughly and predictably, the next 1,000 pages refute the theory that this is an alien spacecraft. The Air Force continues to maintain that what crashed was a balloon. But within the report, there is an important and remarkable new disclosure about what kind of balloon. This, states the Roswell Report, is debris from a top-secret Air Force program to carry surveillance equipment up into the atmosphere. Codenamed Project Mogul, balloons carrying electronic sensors were supposed to fly over secured areas and listen for Soviet atomic bomb tests. Until 1995, this information was deemed too sensitive for public disclosure, hence the need for the cover story, and the real cover story. But many UFO researchers believe that this latest report is simply another cover story. Since the government has lied about Roswell for so long, they challenge, trust is not something that can be gained with 5 pounds of white paper. In Springfield, Missouri, new research from the Sheely Institute indicates that many methods of alternative healing are highly effective and that the mind possesses remarkable healing power. Dr. C. Norman Sheely is the Institute's director and an authority on spiritual healing.
Well, I think it's any question that some people seem to have a natural talent or ability to heal others. But you know, I've kept one foot in both camps. And if it works and it's safe, to me, we need to study it.
Dr. Sheely is a Harvard-trained neurosurgeon who pioneered the field of alternative medicine. In 1978, he founded his own version of the AMA, the American Holistic Medical Association. And in his new book, Miracles Do Happen, Dr. Sheely makes the case for the efficacy of biofeedback, acupuncture, herbal therapy, and meditation.
Most healers will tell you that they don't heal. They are channels to assist people in healing. But I think that natural healing talent, if you will, is inherent in all of us.
Dr. Sheely stresses that every spiritual healing begins with an accurate diagnosis from a competent physician. In a series of upcoming reports, Sightings will explore alternative treatment following diagnosis. In New York City, a report to the United Nations warns that global warming is a real threat to the survival of the planet. In their first such findings since 1990, 2,500 international scientists say that they are convinced that manufactured gases trapped in the atmosphere are contributing to the greenhouse effect. As a result, glaciers and snowpacks are melting so rapidly that sea levels are rising at an alarming rate. Within the next 25 years, most beaches in the eastern United States will vanish. And at the same time, deserts worldwide will expand, gobbling up precious natural resources. The UN report calls for global alternatives to the burning of petroleum, coal, and wood. It's a tall order, but scientists point out that a similar call to action in the 1980s has now almost completely eliminated another ozone destroyer, the CFCs in aerosol cans. We'll have more stories from the news next time. Now, here's what's coming up on Sightings.
He was a third-generation soldier on a fast track to general. He was also a psychic spy.
You can go forward and backwards in time. You can experience any event.
The incredible story of David Morehouse when Sightings returns.
Newly declassified files and the admissions of former government employees prove that the CIA has conducted experiments with psychics at taxpayer expense. Now, in an exclusive interview with Carla Wohl, one psychic who worked on top-secret espionage reveals the startling details of the government's covert paranormal operations.
David Morehouse was considered the best the military had to offer, serving with distinction on the battlefields of Vietnam. But today, David is a civilian, discharged less than honorably by the Army he dedicated his life to. And all because he says of his involvement in a top-secret intelligence unit designed to train elite officers like himself to become remote viewers, the nation's psychic spies.
Dave, did you always want to be a soldier?
Yeah. I grew up in a military family, a third-generation soldier. My earliest recollections of life are of being on a military installation and watching a column of tanks roll by. My first toys were Army things. It's all I ever knew, and it's what I thought I was supposed to be.
You were destined to wear stars, I think, is the...
Yeah. Well, that's what several of my efficiency reports said, destined to wear stars.
Rising quickly through the ranks, David was chosen company commander in the elite 1st Ranger Battalion. Then, in 1987, while on a training mission in Jordan, a stray bullet changed the course of his entire life.
It didn't penetrate my helmet, but it really rung my bell pretty good. And I was unconscious for a bit. And I was kind of in between worlds. I was experiencing this vision of what I called an angel. I don't know what else to call it. And it said to me that what you are doing in life is wrong, and that what you are to pursue is a direction of peace. And that was tough for a warrior, for a soldier, to comprehend.
From that day on, David continued to have these self-described angelic visions. He was haunted by their presence. They invaded his dreams. David told no one except his wife about these otherworldly visions, afraid for his military career. But when a military psychologist began evaluating him for an upcoming top-secret assignment, David revealed his psychic visions.
He went to a file drawer and opened up a safe and pulled out 3 blue folders and came back and set them on my lap and said, I would like you to look at these. What they truly were the remote viewers from an organization called, at that time, codenamed Grill Flame. Their efforts to help pinpoint the hostages in support of the Iranian hostage rescue attempt, the failed attempt.
What was going through your mind as you're reading all this stuff? Remote viewers, you haven't even heard of this. Did you believe it?
Initially, no, but these were these were classified documents. These were stamped secret Grill Flame documents. I mean, when a psychologist, as part of a classified, top secret organization, hands you something, and it's obviously a classified document, and it's real, it's tough to put tongue in cheek on something like that. This was a challenge. I mean, this was, you mean people can really do this? How do you do this?
Those questions would eventually be answered when Major David Morehouse was accepted into Project Sunstreak. He became one of a handful of officers trained to become psychic spies. It was an assignment his previous commanding officer had warned him in no uncertain terms not to accept.
He used words that were very cautionary and very, very serious, that were of this ilk, to say, how can you even consider belonging to an organization of freaks like this? This is a terrible organization. Nothing good has ever come out of this organization. It destroys people. It ruins people. You are going to be a general officer if you play your cards right. How could you consider giving everything up to be part of an organization like that?
How could you? I mean, your wife was also told, don't let him do it. He's going to change. He's not going to be the man you know. And yet you went ahead and joined Sunstreak. Why?
I thought that I was so far ahead in my career that I could probably recover from this, that I just wanted to touch it. I just wanted to hold it briefly. I could move on and do something else later. I mean, this is how juvenile I was in my analysis of this.
As has only recently been revealed, by the time David was recruited for Project Sunstreak, remote viewing was already a well-established part of the Army's intelligence program. Journalist Jim Mars spent 3 years investigating the government's interest in psychic espionage.
Well, my progress started as very, very skeptical. But then as I looked at the massive amounts of records and data, I began to realize that there really was something serious to all this. As I began to talk to the spies and hear their individual stories, and the fact that there absolutely was no doubt in their mind, because they had lived it. They knew this worked, and they knew that it was real.
3 weeks after I got to the unit, my wife was called in to be sat down in front of the program manager, who said, your husband will learn things here that will cause him to redefine his very existence. Your husband will no longer be the man that you married.
Despite these warnings, the promise of Project Sunstreak was too seductive. The promise that David would be trained to use his mind in new, unimaginable ways.
Heralded as the newest weapon in the American military's paranormal arsenal, David Morehouse believed that his psychic ability would be nurtured and developed. But it wasn't long before David realized that he had made a terrible mistake.
Coming up, the dark side of psychic spying began to destroy David Morehouse's life. Later, how near-death experiences give vision to the blind.
In 1988, career Army officer Major David Morehouse volunteered for a top-secret intelligence assignment codenamed Project Sunstreak. He was to be one of a handful of men chosen for training as psychic spies, learning the technique called remote viewing. It was an intriguing new job that, for David, would prove to have a life-changing dark side.
One of the first things David Morehouse and his colleagues in Project Sunstreak learned was how to enter an altered state of consciousness they called the ether.
It is that word that we used to describe that place between reality and some place distant in time and space. It is like the medium that you travel in. It is the medium that you, as a phantom, as an apparition, view your target.
How did they teach you to get to that place, to be able to go into the ether?
Initially, you go through a long, extended period of lecture where you're taught everything that there is to know theory-wise about remote viewing. The normal human being would scratch their heads and go, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. How does that work? And I asked that question often until my trainer would turn to me and say, you know, we don't know how this works, really. We just know that it does work.
Project Sunstreak monitored the officers as they entered the deep state of relaxation, the ether, necessary to begin a remote viewing. The men were then given a set of coded coordinates and asked to go there, psychically, to see with the mind's eye what was happening at that location.
In the years that you worked,
for this agency, you were sent to many, many different operational targets, including Desert Storm. What did you see there?
I think probably the one that sticks most in my mind, that was most concerning to me, was the plume of smoke created by the oil fire. What I saw in this smoke plume was, and I know that others saw it as well, a biological agent that had been released into this cloud.
Some remote viewers have speculated that this biological agent may be responsible for the as-yet undiagnosed illnesses suffered by Desert Storm veterans. Flight 803 over Lockerbie, Scotland. You were sent there after it came down.
A few hours after that aircraft exploded, we were asked to begin work on that particular project. Several of the remote viewers drew, in their sketches, saw this radio device and saw an explosive in the radio device. A very good friend of mine, Mel Riley, who is certainly one of the best remote viewers that there ever was. I can remember him standing in the fuselage and finding himself turning to these souls that now their physical bodies obviously plummeting towards Earth. And I remember Mel trying to tell people that, you know, that they had died, that they were all gone now, that this is what had happened. That is a tremendous amount of emotional and spiritual pain that you are asked to grasp, to embrace. But it takes a tremendous toll on you as a human being to have to experience that.
And the toll it took on David Morehouse and his family was irreparable. Unable to talk about the horrifying visions with anyone, David withdrew, grew increasingly anxious, and like a lot of other remote viewers, David felt he was losing his mind.
The people who were put in this program and put in the position of remote viewing, I think they were totally unprepared psychologically. Dave Morehouse, who had a very conventional, traditional upbringing, schooling, and suddenly he's into this program of just mind-boggling dimensions.
One of the worst things that happens to remote viewers is they develop a messiah complex.
You think you're God?
Yeah, you think you're God. You can go forward and backwards in time. You can experience any event and manifest the physiological aspects of that event, remote in time and space. And when you go back and see the ground zero at Hiroshima, or crawl amongst the bones and ashes in the ovens of Dachau as a remote viewer, and you go home that night, what do you say to your wife? What does she say to you? How was your day at the office, honey? You start to lose the ability to communicate to the rest of humanity.
But David's emotional connection to his remote viewing targets was not the reason he dropped out of the project. That decision came, he says, after he realized that remote viewing was being tested not only as an intelligence tool, but also as a weapon of psychological destruction.
They knew that it could go far beyond where it was today. They wanted to be able to kill with it. I always believed that this gift, as we referred to it, was something that could benefit all of humankind. And it goes back to my vision after being shot in the head that seek a road to peace. Seek a road to peace. Stop being what you are. What you are is wrong. So I felt that I had a moral and an ethical responsibility to bring that information forward to humankind.
After he dropped out, David was discharged less than honorably. His family and friends received anonymous threats.
But the scariest thing for me was the night that they tried to kill my wife and my children. And that was really tough for me to accept after I had given so much as an officer to the Army. Now, I don't think that Army guys did this, and I don't think that some general officer sitting in the Pentagon ordered a hit on my wife and family. But do I think that the Central Intelligence Agency did it? Yeah.
Mr. Morehouse, you're an Army man. Are you mad at the military, at the U.S. government for what they've done to your son?
I'm disgusted with what they did for my son. He was a good officer, and they mistreated him. They treated him like a criminal.
Today, David Morehouse lives in a quiet seaside home with his parents, writing a book about his experiences. He's working towards a reconciliation with his wife and children, and he continues to use his paranormal abilities for good, to solve crimes, to find missing children, and in the quest for world peace. According to Jim Mars, other remote viewers are following David's example.
Now that it's become public knowledge, now that the former head of the CIA has spoken out about it, now that General Thompson has gone on the record talking about it, the other spies, I'm sure, will begin to come forward and tell their stories. All of the ones I spoke to indicated that they really thought that this was a technology that should be used for the betterment of mankind and not strictly for intelligence and war purposes.
Given that remote viewing has such a tremendous capacity for good and for evil, and that you now know how to do it, when you look back at your decision to become involved, do you regret the decision?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm sorry to say. I should be a lieutenant colonel and a battalion commander in the Army right now. And instead, I'm an outcast, I'm a monster, I'm a freak of nature. I'm something that is difficult for my wife and for my children to accept. And I am something that is difficult for me to accept. And we knew how to create these monsters, these viewers, but we don't know how to deprogram them. We don't know how to make them normal again. I just want to be normal again.
Although the CIA has recommended suspending all psychic experiments, Sightings hears a different story from former remote viewers. When they turn their eyes back on the CIA, they see that the programs won't be suspended. They'll just go under deep cover.
Next,
Different things were different shades of brilliance.
Vicky Umapeg has been blind since birth. She's never seen anything until the night she almost died.
With the success of books like Embraced by the Light by Betty Eadie, more and more people are coming forward to reveal their astonishing near-death experiences. And now, as Carla Wall reports, a new group of experiencers is emerging with a unique perspective on the question, what happens when we die?
Jazz singer Vicky Umapeg has been blind since birth. Vicky's world is devoid of all shape, color, even light. She only sees the world through her sense of touch, and yet Vicky says she knows what it's like to have vision. Following a near-fatal car crash in 1973, Vicky says she saw with her eyes for the first and only time. At her home in Seattle, she told me about her near-death experience.
After the crash, you remember being thrown out of the car, and then what do you remember?
I experienced I guess you could say a clinical death or near death.
Describe it to me.
My first real clear recollection was finding myself up on the ceiling and looking down, and the only thing that I saw was the doctor briefly and my body, and I was on this kind of stretcher thing, and I thought, oh my Lord, am I dead or what? It was very disorienting and frightening to perceive of things from a distance like that, because I have to touch everything. And this way I was not touching anything. I was observing things from a distance, and it was quite foreign and scary and weird. It was eerie. I started feeling peaceful, and I could hear a sound like wind chimes. It was the most beautiful thing. And there was a very, very bright light that was drawing me. And as I got closer to it, it became brighter. There were different shades of brightness, is the way I could call it. Different things were different shades of brilliance. I was beginning to find it more comfortable, but at first it was terrifying.
For years, I've heard rumors that the blind can actually see during near-death experiences. And it was an attempt to see whether there was any validity to this rumors that led me to do this particular study.
Dr. Kenneth Ring is one of this country's leading N.D.E. researchers. After interviewing Vicky Umapeg, Dr. Ring began a formal study on near-death experience and the blind.
It's a paradox that people who have no concept or even history of vision can actually report being able to see. But it's that particular paradox that we want to be able to understand. And in Vicky's case, she was blind from birth. She was premature, so she's never had any vision or any concept of vision. And yet in this experience, she says unequivocally that she could see.
When you had your near-death experience, did you have any visual perception during it?
Sharon Cooper is the co-author of the N.D.E. study. She believes that there's compelling evidence that N.D.E. is more than random visions of a dying brain.
The near-death experience seems to be an authentic experience happening to millions of people, and the common themes seem repeated regardless of the physical disability of the individual.
Brad Burrows is among the congenitally blind who participated in the study. Although he was born without pupils, Brad claims he had a vivid and fully visual near-death experience after a near-fatal bout of pneumonia when he was just 8 years old.
I had stopped breathing for about 4 minutes, and I became aware that my body seemed to be in a separate place from me. It was almost as if I was hovering above my body and was separated from it. As I found myself entering this new plane, however, I felt that this sensation, which I could only describe as seeing, and this light, which I only knew of as light, was so natural and normal to me that I didn't even question it. I couldn't even question it at all. In fact, I wondered why I'd never known any such sensation like it before. It seemed perfectly normal.
Like other near-death experiencers, the blind report the event as positive and life-affirming. And in addition, they believe that their N.D.E. offers a promise of the gift of sight.
While I was in the experience, I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that the vision I was experiencing there would be the same vision I would experience again.
You said that you're not scared of dying now.
Not at all. I look forward to it.
Why?
Because it's going to be beautiful. I know that because I've been there enough to be aware of the fact that it is beautiful.
I think it offers a great deal of hope for the rest of us because we're all limited in various ways. We're all handicapped. And the implications of our findings on near-death experiences in the blind is that whatever handicaps and limitations we suffer from here may be removed there. And I think we can all take a measure of hope from that.
Some N.D.E. researchers believe that study of the near-death experience in the blind may have more than spiritual implications. Could the vision that these patients believe is restored in death somehow be restored in life once we understand the phenomenon?
Ghosts, UFOs, the unexplained, dramatic stories of the paranormal from the files of sightings. A new paperback book available in May, wherever books are sold, from Fireside Books.
Until next time, remember, no mystery is closed to an open mind. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.